Romania was neutral for the first 2 years of World War I, but with the signing of the Treaty of Bucharest, Romania joined the Entente powers and declared war on the 27th of August 1916. After initial advances, the Romanian military campaign quickly turned into a disastrous thing for the Romanian army, as the Central Powers actually occupied 2/3 of the country, including the capital Bucharest, within months, and the Russian troops occupied the rest in order to prop up the Romanian government and prevent the invasion of Russia from the south. Galati was the last port in the Romanian Danube River. It was a vital lifeline for supplying the rump of the Romanian territory and the Russian Moldova, and it remained on the Entente powers for the rest of the war. Of course, in 1917, after propping up the provisional government and abdicating Tsar Nicholas II, Russia would soon be in chaos, and this is why the Russians actually fought the Romanians. But that is just a brief understatement of why. For the citizens of Galati, the situation was alarming. The Siberian Corps had more soldiers than Galati had citizens. Romanian Naval Commander Constantin Nucleesne-Rezina, the Galati sector commander, received an order to bar off the roads from the west from the Russian columns and to defend the city. 2 Romanian companies and a half of the Regiment 21 defended the western approach from the city from the Tiglalala hill. In central Galati were a detachment of Marines and 2 platoons of infantry. 2 small detachments were deployed in L.A.S.T, in which the northern approach and the east to guard the approach from Moldova. 4 Romanian patrol boats, a torpedo boat, and a dinghy were stationed in the Danube River. Colonel Bushiki, commander of the 8th Bridge of the Fanali, ordered the mission to attack in the north and the west of the Russian columns, located in the gorge of the swamps of Maliglin, Lake Canusta, in the Sedet River. Unfortunately, the Russian forces were disproportionately far more numerous and better prepared than the Romanians. On January the 19th, the Romanian 9th Division swept through the small Romanian detachment at Sardinia. After followed the Maldini, which was also set up for artillery. A Russian delegation went to Galati, and as the Riza ordered the Russian troops to pass through the city and then head over to Moldova. Riza replied that that was his action to actually stop that advance. The Russians gave an ultimatum: if they were not allowed to pass by 3 in the afternoon, they would begin shelling Galati. For 15 hours, the Russian batteries near Baldovini opened fire. Bombs fell from the city center, but there was actually minimal damage because the Russians were actually firing at random. The archives don't show you how much civilian population deaths they were, but they were totaling about 200,000 at this point. The greater danger for the population that night was actually their own army, attempting by the 10th Division to burn the city by filling cars with gasoline and driving flaming vehicles into buildings. On the 21st of January, the Russians continued bombing Galati. Russians occupied the bourgs west of Lake Kazuska. A strong Russian detachment managed to capture 1 officer and 40 soldiers in Tiglina Hill. The Russian 34th Regiment attacked the Filisti. A Russian heavy battery and 6 machine guns were placed in Galalushkila Hill and the banks of Parut, as the Russian squadron consisted of 2 companies of machine guns, a cavalry squadron, and a battery of artillery crossed the Parut River, advancing towards Galati. They disarmed the Romanian border guards and the militia posts. They placed artillery near Lake Barit. Russian infantry, preceded by cavalry patrols, entered the bottom of the city. They were bolstered by over 200 armed infantry of the 10th Division. The Russian gunboats armed with 150mm cannons actually came upstream from Rini. From Georgiolesi, artillery shells dropped upon Galati. On the 22nd of January, the Romanians counterattacked. The Romanian 8th Brigade arrived from the Flatini and surprised the Russian troops stationed in the bourg north of Moldovini. The Romanian ships of the Danube batteries of the southern banks and the 2 Romanian airplanes dropped bombs upon the Russians. Romanian infantry, led by the bayonet charge of Tingala Hill, freed the captured Romanians and set the Russians on the run. The Filishli detachment captured 2 patrols of infantry and a machine gun section. Attacks are expelled from the north and the east. The Russians in disarray began moving south to the Grashna, Barduska, and the bridge over the Sarit. Romanian artillery and the bombers targeted bombs at the mass of Russian soldiers gathered there. A handful of soldiers created a panic among the Russians, as they were 2 regiments of the 33rd, 35th, almost 3,000 soldiers ran south and surrendered to the Germans, actually. Galat was not only the spot where Russian soldiers clashed with the Romanians. Over the next few days, clashes between the Russians and the Romanian troops happened at Bakum, Tomushki, Maluhanea, Pashkuna, Temlisti. In January the 27th, the bloodiest clash occurred at Flomaniscent. The Romanians lost 14 dead and 83 wounded, and the Russians over 100 dead and 500 wounded. In February, the Bolsheviks were bickering and caused the Central Powers to repute the armistice of the 18th of February 1918, and the next fortnight seized most of the Ukraine, Belarus, and the Baltic countries in Operation Fortschlag. Romania was spared from this attack, however. By the end of March 1918, Romanian troops had entered the ethnical Romania, but the normal Russian provinces of Moldova and Bucharest-Nabra cleared by the Bolsheviks and annexed by them into Romania. This union was recognized by the principal Allied nations in the 1920 Treaty of Paris. The newly communist Russia did not recognize Romanian rule over Bessarabia. The Battle of Gatla was the only time in history that Romania used air, land, and sea and marine forces together in one single battle. It was also one battle in history where Allied troops fought one another within the eyesight of their enemy. On the 25th of May 1921, the Mastadis of the Battle of Galat received the award of the La Croix de Galuna by General Petrino Bargalinino, the staff of the Italian army. French General Henri Bourtier presented the La Croix de la Guerre, and an arch monument was dedicated to the heroes of Gatla, but it was torn down after the communists took part and took control in Romania after World War II. And that was one of the most strangest battles of probably World War One, maybe World War II, but there were probably a couple of weird battles. Now, there was a German castle battle where the Allies and the Axis actually had to fight off a pack of wolves, and actually other German soldiers, because they were defective German soldiers, kind of, so they were kind of on the Allied side. It was a weird one, but when we get to World War II, whenever that is, we'll talk about that. But for now, this is Weird Battles of World War One, and this is actually land battles, so sorry, but there weren't a lot of weird battles like this in World War One, but it's kind of fun, change it up a bit. This is the weird land battle of World War One. That is AST to go now. Alright, hope you learned something, and hope maybe I should call this I should call this episode Stranger Things. Nah, I'm just kidding. Enjoy. Hope you learned something, or were confused, maybe, especially with the Romanian. Come on, you were kind of confused. Learn something, my dudes and dudettes.